Well, greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Vinyl Hazard. It is Daniel here again with my first update of 2024. And there are going to be 4 vinyl records I'm going to show to you today. And one might say that the first record collection update of the year is basically things that I missed last year. So I'm going to show you 3 albums what that was recommended to me by various vinyl community members, and 1 album that is new, that will say is a release of 2024. So I will begin by showing a doom metal album by Thy Listless Heart. Now, this is a band from Derbyshire, England. It is their debut album called Pilgrims on the Path of No Return. And it is released on Hammerheart Records, I believe. And it was released in November of last year. This is the first pressing, black edition 400 copy something. It was basically the last copy that I managed to snag from a record store, so I'm happy about that. And the artwork is made by Mariusz Lewandowski, which unfortunately passed away in 2022, but his artwork obviously still remains and has been used by many bands, not this particular one, but his art, Lorna Shore, among others, Atramentus, Bellwitch, I believe. So this is fronted by a band member called Simon Bibby, and it features mostly clean singing with some background growls here and there, and you can really get the My Dying Bride vibes sort of from this, but he basically makes this his own album, right? But if you're going to compare it to anything, it probably would be My Dying Bride. So yeah, I really like this album. As I said, was recommended by a ton of YouTubers and was on many people's Year of the End list. So yeah, Thy Listless Heart is the first one I'm going to show to you. Now the second one is a 2024 album. It was released on January 19th by a fairly known heavy metal band, and probably you will know which metal band it is. It is, of course, Saxon's 24th studio album. Basically, they will never stop making albums, well, unless Biff dies or anything, which we do not hope he will. I actually saw Saxon this year, or basically last year, summer of last year, 2023. It was my first time seeing them, and looking at Biff, it was really, you know, the guy is like 73, right? So he's, but man, he can move, he headbangs, and I mean, he's a big guy, but he can move on stage, so I hope he will be with us for many more years. Yeah, this is Hell, Fire, and Damnation. And artwork is by a fellow named Peter Salai. Peter Salai. Yeah, something like that. Well, he's a Hungarian artist. Yeah, the band, right. Well, this is a red vinyl edition of it, you know, red with some black marbling. It's limited in 400 copies, something like that. And what can we expect from Saxon on this album? Well, obviously the high-octane heavy metal that they are known for, catchy guitars, hooking vocals. Yeah, it is basically exactly what you might expect of Saxon. And yeah, their previous album, Carpe Diem, is basically on par on this. I would say this is a slightly better. And say what you will about Saxon and their lyrics, but you know, I like Saxon. They're like a traditional heavy metal band. I like traditional heavy metal. Yeah, so Saxon, Hellfire, and Damnation. Right, next one is the newest album from Horrendous. This is Ontological Mysteries, right? Ontological Mysterium, right? That was what the album was called. And this was released on August 18th last year. Horrendous is a progressive technical death metal band. And the artwork is by a fellow named Brian Smith, who has done basically almost all of Horrendous album covers. At least the first, no, well, not the first one, the previous four, I think. I think it's only, this is their fifth album. I think it's only like the first one he hasn't done. So what can you say about Horrendous? Now, I knew Horrendous from before. I had listened a little bit to the 2018 album Idol, and I thought that was good, but it didn't, hook me in the way that this album has. It's still good. I have revisited since listening to that one, and really, I am sort of regretting that I didn't pick up the vinyl for that album, because it's basically nowhere to be found now, right? So. Now, as I said, this is more of a progressive death metal, technical death metal. It is, it has elements of, how should I put it? It has elements of that this kind of guitar playing, not experimental death metal, but this really technical melding of progressive elements with the bass, the drums, that I really like. They show their technicality in ways that many bands do not. And they started out as a more traditional death metal band. But I have not really listened to those first albums, so probably I should. But yeah, not forgetting picking up this one. And the last one is also a band that was shown all over the VC and was on many people's top lists of the year, and it is Fires in the Distance with Air Not Meant for Us. And this was released in April 18th, 2023, and it is a melodic death metal album. And the artwork here is is made by a fellow called Kalen Stockermans, I think he's pronounced, more guessing really. And it sort of melds this baroque romanticized classical painting that he made also on their first album, because this is the second album by Fires in the Distance. So this was a dark blue edition of the vinyl. Well, you can see probably a little bit there. And it was limited in some tomfoolery, number of copies. But that is not why we talk about this one. This is a band that sort of reminds me of Dark Tranquillity in their, like electronic kind of death metal, melodic death metal approach. But I would not say they are as electronic as Dark Tranquillity. If Dark Tranquillity is a 10 in the electronic death metal, melodic death metal genre, this one is probably at a 6 or 7. There are certainly electronic elements in this, piano thingies and stuff like that. But it's more reserved on that point, and I like that. Sort of a gothic death metal album, if you really think about it. Came out on Prosthetic Records, great label. Nothing more to say about this. You should pick it up if you really like. If you like Dark Tranquillity or that sort of, death metal, pick this up. Just listen to it. It's really great, I think. Anyway, so now I must hunt down their first album, but it's going to be virtually impossible without paying some scalper prices. Right, so that was it for this record collection update. I have both some CDs also, I do not know if you see behind me, but there is a CD bookcase there, and there have been a lot of CDs that I bought recently, because vinyl prices are up there. So there will be updates with more CDs in the future, but this is of course still Vinyl Hazard, so there will be vinyl records too. With that, may the metal gods be with you, my friends. I will see you in the next update. Cheers!